Welcome to Pathworking the Tree of Life with the Alchemical Cabala. This week, we enter our final path on working our way back up the Tree of Life to the crown of Ketu, the primordial one. So, here's the letter Aleph. It's the first letter of the Hebrew Aleph Beit. And it's the path that we're on this week. Aleph is the solar ox spire. The letter means ox. And it's the mother letter of air. Specifically, we're speaking about what's sometimes called prana, or spiritual essence that is inherent within the breath we take into our vehicles. Our breath is our connection to the most subtle levels of life. And this life force or prana within our breath is the fuel of our spiritual path and work. The path of the fool is our direct connection to superconsciousness. If you could only pick one tarot key, pick the fool. So here's where our path is on the tree. It connects the divine self to the sphere of wisdom or divine life. So divine self, divine life. That's what this key connects us within us on the tree. All right, so let's get to the heart of the matter. It's very simple pattern I want you to memorize. Always relaxed. Relaxed and deep. I want you to, at your own pace, inhale, following your breath. After you inhale, pause. After the pause, when you feel like it, exhale. Exhale naturally and deeply, and then pause. So we're going to practice this simple pattern a couple times, several times. It's one of the easiest and most potent breathing practices that you can utilize in any of your meditations. So the formula is inhale, pause, exhale, pause. Most of the time, we're not thinking about our breathing, and that's perfectly fine. It's the thing is, we want to develop the skill to harness the spiritual life force that is within the breath. So this is the most simple formula to use. Just remember, no rush, to breathe natural and fully, pun intended. So you, at your rate, you inhale, you pause. You exhale, you pause. Now, the pause between the inhale and exhale is very important for doing spiritual meditational work for many reasons. One thing is it allows the vehicles of the body, all of them, to fully absorb that prana or life force that's within inherent in the air we take in. And also, when we exhale, it allows the body to discard the waste more fully. Also, while we're pausing and we're using our visualization faculties, we are impressing, remember, we're impressing the subconscious with the living imagery at the very subtle levels. So we are like shaping prana and our visualizations into these patterns because that's what it does. It's intelligence. With a simple discipline, if you do it consistently, you'll start to see the benefits of how much more life force you feel spiritually and physically. All right. So I'd like you to please just stare and look at this image diagram you see before you here. I hope everyone got the email that had this in. So you see how the currents are flowing down around this auric egg, all around, down to the feet here. And then you see the arrows in the center of the spine shoot straight back up to the top. Is that clear to everyone? Okay. So what you see here is an image in the Western tradition that's called the fountain breath. This particular image came from materials made and printed by David Goddard, who's a teacher in the Western tradition. He has granted me permission to share this imagery with you. And so I just want to say we're going to make this as simple as possible. But let me stress this first. Helen Blyton, known to some as Mother Ruth, a master teacher, and through whom the tarot that we use comes, she said most simply, do not underestimate power of breath. I can't stress this enough. We know the full key is the 0 key and is the air and breath and superconsciousness. Will someone here please state the number 0 truth about the self and the pattern on the chessboard?
All the power that ever was or will be is here now.
Perfect. Thank you, Victoria. Yes. Do not underestimate the power of breath. So this simple diagram shows us how to visualize the currents of light as we breathe in and out. I'm using the simple 4-step breathing pattern of inhale, pause, exhale, pause. We're going to pay attention particularly just to 2 centers in this pattern. We're going to see the crown of Keter above and the sphere of light at our feet. You don't have to worry about these spheres in the middle here. You're welcome to visualize them if you like, but you don't need to do this for the fountain breath. They're here already. So we see the white crown of Keter right above our head. We'll see it approximately a foot or so, sometimes 2, just however what feels right to you. And as you inhale, see and feel the light descend and come down all around you and through all your being and vehicles in the shape of this white auric egg. As you're inhaling in, it falls down and comes and pulls all the way down to your feet down here, equally. Like it's not going faster on one side or front or back. It's as it descends in the back, it's descending in the front. As it's descending in the left, it's doing the same in the right, all simultaneously coming down and feeling on the in-breath. So we breathe in, the light pours down, pulls at our feet. On the pause, see that light spinning bright at our feet into a tight sphere, tight and bright. And then it shoots straight up your spine on exhale, back to the crown of Ketu. Okay, you can look at the diagram a minute because we're going to go through a short practice period here, just a moment. Just want you to get a real good feel of this simple pouring down and around, and then on the pause, it gets that light tight and bright into a sphere and shoots straight up the center of your spine, back to the crown. At the pause there, after your exhale, this is important. At that pause, you want to see the crown spinning white, but new, fresh light comes in from the Ein Sof Or into your crown. And when you inhale fresh new light again, pours down and around you, all the way down through all of your vehicles, subtle and gross, down to the lower, right at your feet. At the pause, you see that light tighten up into a bright white sphere, and on exhale, shoot straight back up the center of your spine, back to Ketu. Okay, so get a sense of your own rhythm. And if you haven't already, please close your eyes and get centered. Take a few deep abdominal breaths and relax. We're going to practice this just a bit. Okay. Breathing out, getting ready. You see the brilliant white light of Keter spinning above you. Inhale. The light pours down all around and through you to your feet. Pause. See it spinning and getting tight, tight, tight. On exhale, it shoots straight up the center of your spine, back to the crown. You pause, and new fresh light comes back in. Inhaling, the light pours all down through you. On the pause, it collects at your feet and spins brightly. You can feel it. Exhale, it shoots straight up the center of your spine, tight and bright, back to the crown, spinning. With each new breath, new fresh light comes in. In breath, it pours all down through you in this perfect egg white light. Spins at your feet on the pause. Gets tight and bright. On exhale, shoots straight back up all the way to the crown. Feel it in the center of your spine. As you pause, see fresh, bright, white light coming in and down and all around. Just do this now on your own, at your own pace. Really feel this light charging your whole auric egg field. As you immerse yourself in the brilliant white light of Keter, in this simple practice, I want you to start to get a feel for how, as you breathe in, wherever you are in the cycle, when you breathe in and feel the breath and the light pouring down, it's also coming up the center of your spine at the same time. It's like you're priming the pump of the fountain. You're priming this fountain breath. relaxed. Just get a sense of how that's all going at the same time. Every time you breathe in, it's still pouring down and coming up. And every time you breathe out, it's still pouring down and coming up. There's this continuous cycling of light in this fountain within your whole auric being. When you've achieved some sense of this flow, of a continual light pouring down and coming up the center of your spine, all at the same time, when you've achieved some degree or sense of this and can feel it, you will have succeeded in this very powerful exercise called the fountain breath. When you're ready, gently breathe in deeply, come to the core center of your being, feel the weight of your body in your chair, and gently open your eyes. Please unmute yourselves one at a time and looking anew at the image before you. Please one at a time share what speaks to you in key 0 of the major arcana.
The fool has reached the attainment, the purple mountains of the fountain breath. He's totally surrounded in the egg of light that we just were talking about.
Excellent.
The sun is white light.
Yes. Excellent. It is too, right?
It's Kather, right? The sun.
What's that?
It's Kather.
I don't know that word. I'm sorry.
That's at the first sphere, the top.
Oh yeah,
number
Keter.
one.
Yes. Sorry, you're pronouncing. Yes, right.
Sorry.
Keter. Right. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
It is Keter. Yes. Keter. Yes, the crown.
Right.
It's the crown. It's which on the simple tree we know is who's memorized the simple tree now. I know we all have.
Divine self.
The divine self.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Zero, maybe it's a number and it's not a number.
Hmm. Yeah. It's infinite possibility. Or all the power that ever was or will be.
Said that the white rose was probably gotten at transition.
Ah, nice. It's a great pickup, Sue. Now that's a good question, right? Yeah. Did he get it there? Or is he going to plant it there?
Mhm.
Right. To me, it looks like it's just living off of the light of the sun itself.
somewhere I read that the white rose is related to Uranus because it's white. I forget exactly why. And also that it's white because it's purified desire rather than red.
Yes. Yes. Yes, that is correct. It is absolutely pure. It's the heart's pure desire. And we know in alchemy, a pure desire doesn't have anything to do with what generally what the world says is pure. It has in alchemy, purity means without admixture. As Michael would say, there's no conflict in this desire here. It is one pure desire. This is it. This is all. It doesn't, there's no conflict about what it desires.
The important part that it is desire, though, because often in spiritual teachings, they misunderstood that we're supposed to stamp out desire completely rather than purify it.
That is a great point, Richard. Thanks for making that. Absolutely, right? Like, yeah, there's a lot of teachings that are like repress, cut that off, get it rid, but that's cutting off our own life power, right? How does that occur to you? Like, how would you work with that?
It's impossible. You can't completely stamp out desire at all. I mean,
Right. And why would you want to?
Why would you want to? Exactly.
Now, alchemy is taking, like, say we desire to do something that we know it's not in our best interest or someone else's, right? We really don't wish to harm anyone, but sometimes people feel those desires. Well, that's the beauty of alchemy, right? We can take that pure, raw life force and just bring it with breath and focus and vibrate it up to transmute it. The most simple way, I know Michael talks about it, is just take the energy you feel and go do something productive. That's the most simple, down to earth way to do it. Put off chores you've been, putting off, or do the chores you've been putting off, or do the thing you don't want to do. There's a lot of power in that.
The doing of it makes you realize that it's not an intellectual event. It's an actual visceral to your core. When you do something, you have to do things. He's covered himself in the An Sapor, which that's his cloak, with all of the tools available, but held within it before manifestation. Black cloak. And underneath it is red. It's lined in red. So you see the inside of his cloak.
Yeah, right here.
Lined in
Yep.
red.
Yeah. This.
So we're all like pre-action, right before you're going to do something. And without desire, you're attaining to a purified desire, but that's just it. You don't know what it is until you do it. So you have a few, what you call face plants. Oh, I screwed up. That's not working for me. But until you do things, you don't know what works for you. It's all in your head and it's not in your world. Because yes, we are mind. So we think, but that's why we have the kingdom to express it in, to make sure it works.
Okay.
You can think anything. That's called fantasy. Fantasy is not the same as experience. So I just realized he's wearing the An Sapor with all the goodies on it, which will protect him, which is us, but underneath is this vibrant red. And interesting, the little satchel that he's carrying of your previous experiences is red again.
Hmm.
All your little activities. And the exalted feather on his head, because when
Mhm.
something's at the high point, it's exalted, is red.
Mhm.
So go do things. Get closer to God. No wet noodles invited. You have to have a sense of humor in this one
For
on
sure.
life, because you're going to do goofy things going, yeah, that's, oops. It's okay, as long as, and it can't kill you because we live forever. So keep going.
You know,
That's a
it's
good
interesting,
perspective.
Margot, when you do things, you find yourself having to breathe more, right? And but if you try to do that without doing things, you end up not being able to absorb that. You can overwhelm yourself by breathing too heavily without doing something. So,
Hyperventilate.
but by doing it, it's like it allows that flow to happen. And
Mm.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's well put. Yeah, very, very observant. Yeah, people can hyperventilate when they're overwhelmed. And the pause, toss the pause in, and you get reality. Lovely.
Last week we talked about how the fool is like the second before something happens or we take action. So maybe that's like the thoughts in our head and then, acting on it or speaking it.
Look at all the red. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the minute I say, oh, this is now is like behind me. So this is like the before, and then I don't know, there's some thing I'm trying to say, but yeah.
Well, keep going there, Nancy. Keep going. No, seriously, keep going.
So I guess the now is, it's either the before or the after, and the now cannot be said. Because as soon as I said it, it's like, not now.
And yet it's only now, right? But
I
what
suppose so, yeah.
what
Yeah.
do you, what's the formula he has on his inner?
Yeah. Tetragrammaton.
Yes, right? You see that? The Yod He Vav He, the Tetragrammaton, right?
Mm.
So pointing to what I think maybe what I hear when what you're saying, what it reminds me of, Nancy, is remember the English transliteration of Yod He Vav He means everything, all that ever was, all that is now, and all that ever will be. That's really profound like meditation, because that's all that is now, right? Everything that was is present in what is now. And everything that will be from what is now. It's always only now. We just conceptualize these memories, but when we remember, we just re-present. We re-present of memory, which we have a lot. We've been around a long time, if there's such a thing. We've done a lot. We've been on a lot of adventures. There's no telling how many we've actually. They're probably not even countable. But in our soul, we know we carry that wisdom.
He's at the point of unity that's heading into duality, where we here sit trying to figure it out.
That's beautifully said.
That's it.
That's it.
And you cannot figure it out, but you can be it. You can
Yes.
sense it. You can have it.
Yes.
At which point you just go, ah, relief.
Yes.
But you can't figure it out.
Explain it. Yeah, you can't explain it. to
You can't
someone.
explain it. You can't figure it out. You can't tell it to. That's why you can't give it to someone. You can't proselytize about it. You have to place another person into a situation, an alchemical situation, which is what we call it, where they experience from within themselves out.
Yes.
You have. And then you look
Beautiful.
at each other and go, yeah, yeah, you're there. Got it.
That's great. That's
But-
great.
Don't ask how. I could not explain it.
Sure.
So
Right.
yeah, it's the point of singularity going into duality.
Yes. Yes. This is,
And the
this is,
remembering is putting it back together.
you know, the word knowledge is an interesting word, right? He knows the ledge.
That's cute.
That's all he knows.
Or knowing the edge.
Yes, he's on the edge for sure.
So remember, forget.
Yes. So, yeah,
Can I share something real quick?
please.
Just something interesting that came to me is the rod which sits on his shoulder there, the staff,
Mhm.
and how it goes off the edge of the card.
Yep.
And you can look at it in a way of seeing that this card itself is the edge of the staff. Like it represents the very end of the staff.
Interesting. Okay.
So from the vantage point of looking at the key, you're looking at the end of the staff,
Very
which
nice.
then you see the vertical sort of the edges of planes sort of
Mhm.
looking through the key itself. And you can get the sense that the yellow hair of the fool is like the sun in the center on, Tiferet, the heart.
Mhm.
And you see the red colors are beyond the heart, as if to say more inward, or the activity is more inward towards the
okay.
center.
Okay.
Just patterns, just interesting patterns.
So, great.
Often when something's at the edge of the card, it goes over just a little bit and we can see it.
Right. But this is different, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's curious. What else might that staff he's carrying speak to or be?
The future and the present and the past.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Keep going. Anyone. Y'all just go with that. Just that one image.
Balance.
I think I read something about it being used as a way for him to measure some aspect of consciousness with the staff, and something about it being black and the knob, also the golden knob on the end.
Okay.
I forget all the symbolism, but the staff has a whole bunch of things.
Yeah. Right.
Orange is a solar color.
Beside that,
Mm.
it's phallic. It's a phallic symbol as
Yeah.
well.
Okay. All right. Good. Anyone else?
So
I think
typically-
counterbalance would
Okay.
counterbalancing the
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Right. Interesting. So who was saying something?
Well, the tip of the staff is a solar color, orange.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has this white line through it, even though we think in terms that it's like maybe like it were a shiny black staff, and that's a
Right.
white. But
Right.
where the sun is glistening off of it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
or it's cut in two, heading into duality.
Okay, that's also interesting. Okay, what about this? What about from the exercise we just did?
So the base of the staff would be Malkut,
And
and
what's that white line?
The spine?
the high
Yes,
priestess.
perfect. The spine. That's the center channel, the spine. Perhaps.
And the knob is the pineal gland then.
Perhaps. Good pickup. Very nice. Definitely where that would correspond with this eye here, wouldn't it? And
Like a
and
face?
right. And going back to the crown of Keter up here.
And
May
what,
I add something about
what about the
about
eagle?
the staff?
Yes, please.
So it looks to me to be a wand, as the wand is used throughout, the whole tarot deck.
Mhm.
And the wand symbolizes the alchemical element of fire. And so you have it like coming from the sun. So it's like we're using solar energy. And to me, the being looks like the Christ being, like the Christ spirit. And again, coming like from the sun.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to forget everything that I know
Right.
about this
Right.
card
Right.
and
I
just
get it.
and just see it fresh with,
Yeah.
all of you.
Right.
So I'm seeing lots of things I've never seen before.
Right.
Like the white rose is like a white lotus, and that symbolizes purity of mind. And right below it, you've got the dog, which, typically is interpreted as the intellect. So you've got both the dog and the rose are the same color.
Hmm.
And so I think we're looking at purity of mind.
Hmm.
But it's a rose also. So it's got to link desire somehow.
Mhm.
But being the same color as the dog and the sun, superconsciousness, it all seems to me like it's really purity of mind in the way the Buddhists would describe that.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael.
So yeah, that's all.
When you said that's all, when you said looking at it anew, when you said that for the first time, I saw that he just came through this like portal from the sun through through the egg here, through that oval, which we know is the spirit, right? So really, we're
Yeah.
seeing it's the top of spirit is the oval and the egg. So we're seeing the spirit of the sun, which is what kind of along the lines of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and it's I see it like the descent of spirit into matter.
Yes,
Which is that's the whole story of Christ.
Right.
Coming into manifestation in the body of a person.
Putting on the garments, right? Of matter or form or
Something I've never noticed before. Look at his hands. What are your most powerful fingers? The thumb and this finger. And there, one is holding the rose and one is holding the staff.
It's called the pincer grip.
Yeah.
It's a mudra.
It's what?
A mudra, a hand position in yoga.
Yes.
It's also a hand position in healing.
Yes.
To do with power. When you're doing work, these two fingers and but these two fingers, a lot of power goes through those fingers and then the rest.
I like how he's gently and delicately holding both things.
Yeah. It's very soft.
Very subtle, right?
Yeah.
But he's clearly in balanced and in control here.
Isn't it the hand that he's holding the rose with? Isn't that the white supremacy hand signal?
I wouldn't know.
The left hand.
But okay. No, I don't think so.
Turned on its side, turned on its side.
You're gonna have to censor that now.
Nah, I'm not censoring that. That's silly. He's being funny. It's fine. Oh, you're talking about the OK sign, right? That just recently
Oh,
became a thing.
I think
Yeah.
that's the Illuminati sign, right? They say that
Okay. Yeah.
I don't try
okay.
and
on the internet or
transcript
whatever.
many things, but at the end of the day, yeah, mudra.
Easy. Yeah,
Hey,
Mudra. There
hey
you go.
there.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Easy.
Hey,
Good to
hey.
have you.
Yeah, absolute joy to be here.
So we're looking at the card anew, Easy.
Mhm.
Like Michael really presenced that for us, which I appreciate.
Beautiful card. I
Boy,
did
the
have a question.
The intellect
Sorry,
looks so happy.
He really does.
This
He's
is
so and
before
sweet.
manifestation. It's like everything's going okay. I know who the master is. I got this all worked out. Everything's fine. We jump off the cliff. Who cares? Let's go. That's the
sweet.
intellect. And then we get into duality, and it's like, can I figure this out? I don't know.
Right.
What's, we get all on, quote, on natural.
Mm.
He's crowned with leaves, nature.
Yeah, victory, right? That's the victory wreath.
Hey, Margaret, you worked with Mother directly on this deck. What did she say about the little dog? It looks very much like he's trying to grab the foot and keep them in.
Beside him. I don't think he's trying to grab the foot.
In earlier versions of the tarot, the dog, whose intellect, is actually biting the fool's leg, because often intellect is against us, is a troublesome thing. And in this version, the dog is a purified intellect. It's white, and it's not inimical to the fool.
It looks like he's ready to jump off with him.
Yeah,
right.
He looks like he's just 100. He looks like he's all in.
He's not on the guy's foot. Because you couldn't be under his foot with being up. I mean, go get a dog, have him go on his hind legs. He wouldn't have his front leg under your foot. So it has to do with distance. He's just more forward next to him. Obedient, and which makes him happy, or whatever, happy.
Yes, the intellect, just like dogs is more happy when it's controlled. Dogs who aren't trained are unhappy dogs.
Yeah, they're stressed.
They don't know what's expected of them.
Right, because they function from instinct.
Right, and they're confused.
Yeah, and so it's scary for them.
Yes.
If they know the parameters, they're cool.
Just like our intellect, right?
Yes. You shut up over there, because
That's well said.
Just on that note, real quick. Actually, that's interesting, because I know it's a word that, at least I feel like I've heard this word come up a couple of times in the last few sessions, along with like other, let's say, external sources there, but that word of containment, and just so, Richard, as you were mentioning about kind of an untrained dog isn't happy, but like a dog with like some level of training and just kind of like barriers and boundaries and like direction where it's go, it's like it's much happier. It's like, oh yeah, that element of containment where it's like it's not overwhelmed with where do I go, do I do? It's just purely just, hey,
I know from here to here to here, and then dinner, and then we all go to bed. And then
yeah.
It's so true. I used to have a dog walking business, and so it's the truest thing. Dogs
You
to our
get it.
trained, our unhappy, confused dogs, because both and the people are too, because the dog, no one knows the dog's running around biting your leg, you know.
Something on that note, I will say that without going into this space, because I will say that I have a question too on it, but something I've shared a lot in, let's say, the working world is the fact that, and I say it with all due care, love, and respect, but one thing that people crave, and I don't use that word lightly, is next steps. It's like whenever you're trying to lead a thing, it's like if you just be like, hey, here's this and here's our next step, it's like that's just like, yes, great. It's like,
Yes.
go with that. It's that crave. And so craving of next steps is like there's
That's a cool
some
way to put
deep
it.
element there to that. So yeah. Right there
That's
with you.
brilliant.
Wanting
Everyone.
to have, wanting to have
Thank you.
control, maybe have a next step.
So what I'm seeing from everything you guys are saying is that what I see here in that is the intellect is following the self and
Mhm,
being disciplined by the self.
mhm. And what is the next step? Is the magician
Over the cliff.
key.
The next step is
Yeah,
over the
the
cliff.
next step is the magician key, which is the key of concentration. The
Yes.
ability to look at one thing and nothing else
Yeah.
with
Okay.
comfort, with just quiet. And that's what arrives after a while of the ability to just sit and be. And just be. And there's nothing else going on.
I see a lot of trust in this key.
Oh, yeah.
I see
Yeah.
total and uninhibited self,
Oh, nice.
like
Mhm.
completely uninhibited, no protection, completely open, no anything from the mind, completely in a state of being where you can walk right off that cliff and everything's going to be okay because you're going to allow yourself to have that experience.
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, total acceptance there, right? Everything. Not a care in the world.
Yeah,
So
because when
put-
you have experiences, you know you're going to get something from it.
Right.
You're not, it's not an attack on you. It is like you're looking forward to it.
Well, it's just the thing too is like, I mean, as you know, I mean, I love that word trust. Being kind of Teresa, as you were speaking on this and with Margot and all that, you know, just as you're sharing on it and looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, and it's like, where is he looking? He's not looking down at the next step of the cliff, like what's the next step? It's like he's looking up at, you know, he, she, they,
Towards greater
fill in the blank
heights.
of that. And the thing is like, you know, right. And what comes up is the fact that it's like, you know, right where the, you know, right above the chest, or I guess that top area, right, where it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Yod He Vav He, you know, written
Yes.
on that. So it's kind of like, it's kind of a sense of like, you know, trust in God, trust in the faith of God. You are, you know, you are enveloped with God's presence and spirit, and you know, just all of that. So it's like just having, so again, that's where the trust part, I guess, resonates with me, where it's like that it's putting absolute faith and trust in God, faith, unknown. I mean, you know, fill in the blanks for whatever it is, but just that kind of top Yod He Vav He, you know, all is and what will be. It's that kind of, it's like he's like, it's all good, you know, whatever happens, it's all good.
Right.
Never mind it's a cliff, never mind it's the, and it's like even the dog's like, yeah, let's go wherever we're going, wherever we're going. And you know, it's great.
Ready to go right off.
Yeah.
It makes the dog relax. The
Mhm.
dog doesn't have
Breathing.
to
Look
think
at
about
that.
anything.
The dog is smiling. Even its eyes are smiling.
The dog doesn't have to worry about what people are thinking about it. The dog doesn't have to worry about anything. So
Right.
you can
Yeah.
just be in the moment.
Yeah.
Can I say something a little bit on the different side here, if you don't mind?
Please.
Yeah. So, you know, I look at this card and I see the Fool almost like he's listening to his assignment from God, the universe, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna set off on this journey. And I know the dog, you know, is supposed to be the intellect, but the way I see the dog is, you know, the dog is the lower kingdom, you know, it's the animal kingdom, representing the animal kingdom. And he's
Right.
also got the rose and the leaves on his head representing the plant kingdom. So he's got, you know, so his purpose, you know, you've got, you know, he's basically, the dog's looking to him like, you know, are you going to do it? Are you going to do your purpose? We're dependent on you because, you know, we've got dominion over the other kingdoms, right? So I'm dependent on you to do what you need to do, right? Like he's almost like the protector, you know, he's going to follow along the dog. And plant kingdom too, it's like, you know, we're supposed to be stewards of the lower kingdoms. And so I feel like he's, you know, he's going to go and do it, not only for himself and for humanity and for the planet, but for, you know, for the other two kingdoms as well.
That's great.
Well,
Yeah, I like that too. That's you know, if we take it like the figure being the Christ spirit, there's what I'm seeing is an element of sacrifice, and the attitude that he has is of such sweet surrender and trust that says something, that teaches us our attitude, the way we should approach life in general, because life in general is always a plunge. You know, he's going off the cliff, he's gonna die. So that's like every life we live is a plunge ending in death. And that knowing that, his whole attitude toward that is so beautiful. You know, this willing sacrifice, which is, you know, that's the Christ motif, right? That's like the whole message, whether you know, we talk about Christ the Son or Christ Jesus or Christ us, you know, so because it's a universal story, it's for all of us. Anyway, that's what I see. I see a theme of sacrifice.
Sacrifice and surrender.
Well, you know, I think we have to, yeah, it's surrender to the higher self, but it's also sacrificing on the lower, you know, on the lower plane, the plane of life and suffering. So yeah, surrender to God, but commitment and willing sacrifice on the other. I mean, that's how we approach life, right? We don't just surrender to our circumstances. We pick our path and we commit to it and then sacrifice what we need to pursue it. So anyway, that's how I'm seeing it.
Okay.
I see this card as he doesn't go anywhere. This is the Fool. This is the creation. You don't go anywhere. And that's
He's going down.
He's already there.
He's not on this card. He's not on this card. He doesn't go anywhere. We don't go anywhere. We never live the unity. We never leave the unity.
I see it the same way, Margot. I see it as
You
this is
don't
the
leave the
bornless one,
unity.
right?
Yeah.
It's the bornless one that we are in that unity.
This is what we are. All of the responsibility and sacrifice heads on to key one. This is
but he's connected to the animal kingdom. I mean, maybe that's part of why the dog is there. This is like he's coming into a body. This is the incarnation. There's
but he's not
animal
there
there.
yet. He hasn't gone down the cliff. He's not in the body yet.
Yeah, he doesn't go off the cliff. He doesn't go anywhere. That's the idea. We really don't go anywhere.
And is it okay if we don't go anywhere?
Yeah, I think so.
Sometimes in the tradition, the crown or the self, which this is the key of the self, like Teresa said so well, it's called the moveless mover, right? You've heard that term before.
The causeless cause.
Right. The bornless one. Yeah, that's my experience. That's how I perceive this also.
All the
But
elements are.
Yeah, but he's
here.
cloaked. His cloak it has cycles of time on it, and
now
That's
that's
true.
that's
black.
a really
The
It's
good
belt
black.
moves
point.
time.
That's a
That's
good point.
mortality. What he's wearing mortality there.
He has put
Right.
on.
He's
he
this
has
is
put
where
on-
no, this is the story of the Garden of Eden. This is where
He hasn't left
humanity
yet.
comes into
That
self-consciousness.
what Margot said, I
Yeah.
agree with. He
Yeah.
hasn't
Yeah,
left
yeah.
yet.
In order to enter this duality, he puts on the belt of time. When he leaves, in order to return, he has to take the belt off at the end.
Right.
Right.
You have to
Yeah, but
get
the
out of time, and he's putting it on, but he hasn't gone yet.
Yeah, but the whole purpose of the Fool card being separate from the rest of the deck is he's not in the sequence. He stands behind the whole thing.
Yes,
So
I know
we're
that.
looking at
Yeah, he does.
we're looking
He's
at a
always
generalized.
there. He
Yeah,
never
we're looking at
goes
a general.
anywhere.
We're looking at a generalized principle here that refers, I believe, directly to the incarnation or the Christ spirit entering into the earth plane, taking on a body, a cloak with all of the black is the occult,
But he's not there
the
yet.
laws,
Right.
the
He's
laws
about
of
to
nature.
do that, but he's not there
Yeah,
yet.
but no,
Yeah,
he's
he's a
not part of the
magician.
action.
He's there.
No. That's why the card is separate from the rest of the deck, is because and stands behind the deck. You see,
between every
this
card.
applies. Yeah, so he's not going anywhere. It's none of
That's
that.
right.
But
He's not going
it
anywhere.
represents us, spirit descending into matter. It's not an action.
It's
a
getting
principle.
rough in here.
Okay,
Rough.
so all right. So let me point
Hey, no,
to,
we're just playing rough.
to something here, to your point, Michael. You're talking about
Yeah.
the incarnation. We see down here at what I would call the lower backside of the Fool, the letter Sheen. Right here, I would put that kind of like at the sacral area. And
The
Sheen,
Kundalini force, fire.
yes, it is. It's the fire. It's the mother letter of fire, and it means fang, and it's the fang of the fiery serpent. Richard's talking about the Kundalini. And interestingly, we see that triple flame alighted right up here, right around the center of the chest. So the question is, these circles we see with the spokes of red through them, activity, are these holes in the fabric, the whole everything we're seeing through into the yellow background, or is this part of the garment, or both?
Can I speak about it?
Please.
From looking at it and thinking sacred geometry, there are 8 spokes on the wheel.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
eightfold path Buddhism. That's easy, but that's an easy way to step out of yourself, to master and to really embody the principles of the eightfold path. Around it, the green, they look like 3 circled, maybe like
Trefoils.
triskelion of some, trefoil, maybe triskelion even, maybe, because this is it's simple enough drawing for it. But there's 7 of them. There's not 8.
That's
So it's
correct.
7 arising to 8. So the 7 is the number for mastery of self, for angelification, and 8 is the container that holds it. The container that holds it is our reality, which would be Malkuth, and Keter, because Keter contains Malkuth, and vice versa. And so the red spokes would be like the root of Malkuth, and like the balance and that like form that you hold as the 7 dancing around it in motion. 7's a prime number. I like the idea with the time belt that's supposed to be, because as you master self and you're in the full state where you can fully let spirit guide you, you are beyond time. You can see your whole picture and kind of dance around through it. And that's why I like, the idea of like Poe, the uncarved block, the Fool represents that uncarved self, that lets spirit mold it and shape it. yeah, just the zero. Zero is an infinite symbol for infinity. I don't know if you guys already talked about this, and I'm popping at the end here. The sun being the guide at the top. I didn't count the spokes in the sun. 1, 2. How many spokes are there? I'm sure that has a meaning. 1, 2, 3.
I believe there's 12.
Is there 12? Okay, so
I
12 is
believe
that
I-
number of completion for the Merkaba, the double six, showing all the points for the Merkaba, the 13th point being the center there, the Fool itself. The white rose being holding that full embodiment of spirit bloomed, like the highest self of the spirit. That's why the yellow's around it, for that fully embodied self. And then riding over the mountains of spirit, like being able to be in your fullest, highest spirit self as well. But in that space, you have to be carefree and you have to let go of everything and let spirit show up. And as you step off of that cliff, you know that right there, spirit has that next step for you. It's a blind trust of the infinite trust, But yeah, just cool things. Thanks.
When you
Excellent.
step out,
Thank
when
you.
you step out to do something, and you don't know what it's going to look like, but it happens.
That infinite trust. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really outrageous.
Interesting.
A quick question. With regards to the crescent moon, and it looks like a star on the upper
Yep.
left shoulder of the.
Yes.
What is? And again,
Yeah, what-
not too
what is-
familiar. Like, what would that be represent?
Well, that's pretty much, well,
The
I'll let someone else talk to it. Well, first off, you have to ask, where is it on the character?
They
The left shoulder.
they symbolize the solar and lunar energies. I
Yes.
would think.
Good. But where on the character's person? We're always thinking about the pattern of the tree.
Divine mind.
Yeah.
Left shoulder's feminine side.
Left shoulder.
It would be in Hokmah.
Well,
Right.
that would be at the left brow.
Oh, I get. Oh, right.
Oh,
So
we
the
have to
left
go-
shoulder.
No, this would be like Abora or Hesed. Yeah.
Volition.
1, 2. Maybe Hesed.
If we back into the tree, it's on the sphere of memory.
Memory. Yes. I always
Mercy.
have to back up.
Yes, we back in because we come out of the tree. So we back into it and we emerge from it or through it.
Hesed is the expression of joy, right?
Yeah, we have to remember.
Yes.
Yeah, remember, forget.
Yeah,
Yes.
and remember ourselves. The only reason we're in this fixed pickle that we're in is we've forgotten.
Yes.
Mhm.
So these symbols together, like Michael said, the sun and moon, they are the solar and lunar forces. This is the whole essence of alchemy right here at his left shoulder.
And the
And-
sun is 7-pointed, so it's the point of mastery.
I thought it's 8. Oh, wait.
Is it 8? 1, 2,
I think
3,
that's
4,
8.
5, 6, 7. You got it. 8. It is 8. Yes.
If you look at the other
You
side,
see
too,
the
yeah.
angle there?
Mhm.
Did it show up?
Mhm.
The angle?
Pythagorean triangle. Is that what I'm
Yes,
looking at?
right.
Yes, we're
So,
looking at it.
right. So interestingly, just that just came up, by the way. Sorry to let me put this in here.
Here.
Yeah.
I could never.
Here we go. So I want you to look at the angle of the staff and the fool. What do you think about that?
Ah,
Oh.
yeah.
Mhm.
Hypotenuse.
Mhm.
And the staff goes over the right shoulder, which would be Gabora, which
Yes.
is the clearing
Mhm.
and the
Perfect.
protected.
Yes, yes, and yes.
I keep seeing the staff going through the symbol, the Hebrew letter Aleph.
Okay.
It's just like there's two flames,
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
and you
right.
can run that through, and
Mhm.
you get the
Yes.
sense that this is all one and the same being, what we're seeing.
Interesting you should say that. Michael talked about this being the Christ incarnated, and the formula for Yeshua is on the cloak. It's on the inner garments is the
Yeah,
Yod Hey
inner
Vav
garment.
Hey, and the letter Sheen down here at the bottom. If you put that in the middle, you get Yod Hey Sheen Vav Hey, Yeshua.
Yeah, the Christ. Yeah.
Mm.
And if you take the vowels out, it could also be pronounced Yah Shiva.
Right. You talked about that the other night. Yeah.
That's the inhale, pause, exhale, pause pattern.
Yes.
The Yod Hey Vav Hey, it absolutely is. Good pickup, Jesse. Okay, we better move forward. Thank you
So-
all. So
There's a
Go
lot
ahead.
on this card.
Well,
Go
what
ahead, Jess.
what Michael and Margot were saying are very much opposite ends of that. You know, Margot was seeing it from one side and Michael was seeing it from another, and really they're two sides of the same thing, and it was just very interesting to see
Right.
see that happening. But it is all true and part of it. So it's
Yeah.
Well-
The fool is everywhere behind the deck. It's between every card. So it doesn't go anywhere, but it is everywhere. And that's our brains trying to
So-
figure that out.
one last point I want to make to this key before we move forward is one of my teachers, one of my best teachers, pointed out to me repeatedly on this key. And they said that we know that the little dog represents the intellect, right? And so the point is, look how high up the intellect comes to the being that we are as the fool. So the
Not that
point
high.
the point that was made was this: the intellect gets to come on our spiritual adventures, but it can only go so far.
Right.
Okay. That's, and just knowing that is humility for our intellect. And this is the correct position for our intellect to assume and take. Trusting the self, being obedient to the self, and not thinking we as the intellect are the self.
The intellect is necessary though, because it's
Yes.
included on the picture.
Absolutely.
It's helpful.
It's our friend.
necessary.
It's our
Yeah.
friend on our journey in life, right? It's
Are you-
it's
Man's
a
best
man's best
friend.
friend.
Are you guys familiar?
When it's not our worst enemy, it's our best friend, right?
Yes. When we're in the world of duality, anything could happen.
Question real quick, Brian first, and then I'll say something. But go
Okay.
ahead,
No worries.
Brian.
Have you guys ever seen a well, I'm sure you've all seen a statue of Ganesh before.
Oh yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Do you know the story, like what's in that picture? In almost every statue of Ganesh has something in it.
Mhm.
Do you guys know?
You're talking about the little mouse?
The little mouse. Do you know what the mouse represents?
Intellect.
It is the intellect, the ego.
Excellent.
And in some of them, you'll see Ganesh riding the mouse, and other ones, sometimes the mouse is really big, like it's controlling. Just like the struggles we have with our ego. And Ganesh is the portal holder of our now and our reality. He holds the Anakarana, but a similar type position as the fool. So
How do you spell Ganesh? Because I don't know this term.
G-A-N. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ganesha. Ganesha is the elephant god, so the elephant-headed god.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
The child of Parvati and Shiva.
got it.
And Shiva,
Now-
yeah.
Now
So
that you
Now I know. Yes, I have heard that. Okay, I just.
So similar, I just thought of that because the fool represents, stepping above time, and Ganesha is the portal for time in our reality. So just interesting correlations, all things.
Yeah.
That was it.
Quick
That's
note.
kind of cool.
I really kind of a question and just something that we touched on, but with regards to the, because as we're having this discussion and looking at the Fool card, which is just, it's like almost impossible to not adore. I don't know if the way I take it, like the Fool card is just awesome. But with regards to the long red feather coming out of the Fool's garland on on his head or on their head, I don't know, it's just something that always struck me because, I know that I've gone through this, being aware of like the colors and being aware of the symbolism, all that. It's just something about that red feather. It's so, not just distinct, but it's just like, it's so purposeful. It feels like being something that's stuck on top of the Fool, because the red always just it always has like this sense of like action and strength and movement and purpose and all that, and it's like, well, they already have the red inside the cloak, they already have the red on the bag, and yet there's still that feather that's red on the top of the cap. And so I don't know, I was just kind of wondering about it because the way it strikes me at times, and just really more recently, as I look at it, it's like, oh, this is, it's kind of, I think this is kind of reaching a little bit here. But just that whole thing of, it's coming out from like the forefront of the
Third
top
eye.
of the head.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And so like with that, it's like kind of giving flight and giving that
Yeah.
sense of,
Mhm.
it's almost like, I think what comes up right now is like action to the imagination. It's like, it's one thing to be like, oh, imagination, or one thing to say, okay, the third eye, one thing is all this stuff, but like actual, like action and activity and heightened action and activity. Feathers don't just, it's not a brick, it's a feathers, at least indicates like, flight and
Yeah.
rising up and all that. And so it's
Mhm.
like, even though, it's the, it's kind of, and blanking out on the, I don't know, if it may have been like a fable or a story, right? Where it's like there was and this is just a fable and story that my apologies for not remembering the story entirely, but it's like person wanted to fly and they hold on to one feather, but that one
Talking about
feather
Dumbo,
thank
Icarus.
you. Thank you. Yes. Oh, well, Dumbo right there,
which
where it's
ties
like,
in with
yes.
Ganesh.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. I was like, what's that one childhood story from so many years ago?
Yeah.
Dumbo. That's exactly it. The one feather, but that one
Yeah.
feather allowed him flight. And it's
Uh-huh.
like in here, it has that similar feel where it's like, again, we're looking at this card, and whether we're implying the next 3 steps of action or not, it doesn't change the fact that it's like, well, his next step is off the cliff, and yet there is glee on the face, there is purity in the heart, there's purity with the I mean, all the stuff that we've kind of discussed. And with all of that, it's like, and there is the feather of the imaginative action, pineal gland action, third eye action, take your pick for whatever, derivation you want. It's that action and activity and that engagement of it in love, truth, honor, spirit, all this stuff that go on for the next 2 hours about.
And it's the red elevated Mars force. It's elevated.
And desire elevated. So when you elevate something and it's at its highest level of purity, in this case, when he said truth, there's something about in Egypt, the feather of truth.
Yes.
Yeah, the feather of
The way
Ma'at.
the scales,
Yeah.
where you put truth here and a feather here.
The heart. Yeah.
The heart and the feather. Yeah.
Yep.
The heart. That's
Yep,
right.
the heart.
The heart
Yeah.
and the feather of truth, which is an Egyptian symbol.
Very
Which
cool.
when you brought up truth, that's the symbol of truth. And it's desire, but it at its highest level, because it's the highest object, quote, on the card. on his
On his
clothing.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, on his
Yes.
clothing and his person.
Exactly.
So truth is very important.
Huge.
And the wreath around his head is interesting because it his golden hair represents sunlight, and plants bind sunlight.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And the green is love, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And love.
Venus, yes.
But you're right, because you know, all we do is eat sunlight. Sunlight comes down, the chloroform takes it and makes it green, and then we consume it. Animals grow and they eat grass and we eat them. So all we do actually is consume sunlight, even
Right.
at this level of the physical body. We
Absolutely.
eat sunlight all day long.
Well, on that same thought, maybe it's the light of his energy in the sun that's making the rose bloom.
Nice.
Wow, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Easy. I like your placement of the feather. It doesn't look like it's going into his crown. It's more like it's his forehead. So that would be the pineal and the third eye, right? Yeah, I'm looking at this through an alchemical lens too. Just looking at kind of the basic symbols, like red is the color of fire, and so the feather that curiously links fire, the elements of fire and air.
Yep.
And so
that's this whole
how-
key. It's the fire, ox fire, and element of air.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
so
The
that would
fire
be,
inside of nature.
well, it's specifically a feather because feathers are on birds. Birds fly in the air. That's the
Yes.
reference in
Yes.
that symbolism. So yeah, so I think the placement of the feather and the two elements that tells
Yeah,
us a lot. I don't know what, but it tells us a lot about
Informed
that.
by
The
experience.
eagle is the king of the air.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the eagle is Scorpio.
Right.
And
And the
I
bag
think
is subconsciousness.
yeah, but the fire element, is that associated with Scorpio?
No, the
Water.
Scorpio
That's
is
water.
water.
Yeah,
So
Water,
so
right.
fire and water. There you go.
and there's your air.
Yeah.
Again, the pair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Well, in
Thank-
alchemy, a lot of emphasis is put on using two of the elements at a time.
Yeah.
Mm,
So
Alchemy is, fire
Especially-
through
well-
water and water through fire.
yes, that's the whole thing in Kabbalah: the fire and the water, and the water and the fire.
And the eye is open. So keep your eyes open, guys.
And single,
Single eye.
single.
stay single.
Yeah.
No, the single
So-
eye. I love
Thank you, everyone, for your amazing
it.
insights, sharing your light and wisdom. Thank you very much. And we're going to move
That
forward.
was fun.
That was awesome. So the Fool here is our being, period. It's our real self, right? It's superior to the self-conscious and the subconscious mind. And yet it includes both together as one. It's like Margot said, and this is the garden before. And one might say that the superconscious, that is the Fool, what we see here, is the source of the self-conscious and the subconscious mind. When our self-conscious and subconscious are united within the superconsciousness, and that Trinity's fruit, we transcend and we transmute. In the inner teachings of the Western tradition, the Fool, he specifically is the one that's called the alchemist. Sometimes it's applied to other keys, but this one specifically is called the alchemist. which ties in beautifully with all of your observations. One of the old terms given to this key was bag of wind. And it has to do with our diaphragm and our breathing in. It's just like a bellows, the breathing in and out, and the fanning of the sacred fire within our vehicles, so that we can bring that light of superconsciousness within. Do not underestimate the power of breath. Full key is the key of the self. The real self. Someone astutely brought up Ganesha. Paul Case, in some of his lesser known writings, said that basically most of the imagery we see in the full key stems from imagery that was once used to depict Shiva. So the supreme self, no matter what viewpoint we're looking at. This key shows our subconscious, the formula, like Teresa so beautifully said, this is pure self. It's just the self. Interestingly, it's been said in ancient times, very, very old times, initiates were taken to a place, usually underground, but they were set and they were made to sit in front of this large mural-like imagery that's very similar to what we see here with the Fool. And they could not leave that sitting until they had a real breakthrough. Just staring at the imagery, contemplating it, absorbing it, being nothing but with that imagery, for as long or as little as it took, didn't matter. A shift in consciousness would occur, and does occur, that resonates with the source of the real self, what the full key represents for us. Again, the self. Our prime directive is know the self, knowledge, right? We brought up earlier how he knows the ledge. Now, look at how he's in this egg. And you see one interpretation of this thin white channel, the Sushumna, going back up over the section of action or volition. I think Brian brought up Gavura, power. That's the center of the spine going back up to the crown. So, in short, when you combine the fountain breath of the Western tradition with the core practice of the full key, that is enough to vibrate you much higher, much, much higher, more quickly. And this breath work combined with the visionary work, this is the purpose of our whole yoga of the West, which is the tarot. We simply have to be persistent and do the work. No one's forcing us to do this work. And no one can do it for us. There's always, always grace, but we still must do the work. And very simply, it's said on the path, and my teachers told me many times, there are no shortcuts on the spiritual path. In my experience, this is mostly pretty much the truth, or how it is. Now, that said, the schools of wisdom and schools of the soul that gave us these tools, like the tarot, they gave us these tools to help us to accelerate our spiritual growth and assist us on our spiritual path. So again, if you will combine a simple, consistent practice, whatever works best for you, but do a breathing practice with your core practice. The 4-step simple breathing practice we did with the fountain breath, and combine that with your alchemical Cabala practice each night of visualizing the key before you outwardly, and then visualizing and holding that imagery inwardly. You combine these 3 things together, it will supercharge all your inner work and meditations. All the power that ever was or will be is here now. So this week, remember to make your intention that you will intend it, that you will wake up and become aware that you're dreaming in your dreams as you practice the core practice with the full key this week. And remember to write in your journals. This concludes our outer class on the path of Aleph, the full key, superconsciousness with the alchemical Cabala. Thank you all so very much for your light and participation. It's an honor and a blessing, genuinely, to have you all here. You bring so much to these courses, to these classes. Now, we're going to take a 5-week break. So everyone enjoy your August. And we're going to start a new course in September. Specifically the Monday after Labor Day, which is going to be September the 9th. This course is going to be Lucid Dreaming and the Cube of Space with the alchemical Cabala. It's going to be approximately a 6-month course. We're going to do it on our usual Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, like we've generally done over the past 2 years. So if anyone's watching this and would like to attend these classes, please email me or leave a message below, or you can email a link at alchemicalcabala.com. Thank you all so much. The floor is now open for any questions or comments.